All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Hart Hustle Podcast. On this podcast, we talk about the heart and the hustle of what it takes to be able to build a business for yourself. And I'm really excited to have my guest Dennis with me today because you and I were connected via a mutual connection in Sean.
Yes.
And he reached out to me and said, hey man, you have to meet this guy because he's doing something so awesome, not only from a business perspective, but also from a service perspective as well. And so I would love for you to kind of take the floor and introduce yourself, and let's kind of dive into what your background is. Like, tell me about where you grew up and the kind of places where you came from.
So where I grew up, originally from Mexico, moved here when I was just a baby, was raised in Los Angeles, South Central, 83rd and San Pedro to be exact. I went to Miramonte Elementary School. I ended up moving here when I was 12 years old. I went to Von Tovo Middle School over there off of like Pecos and Cary.
Okay.
And a lot of people, I tell this to a lot of people, I was the very first student at Desert Pines High School. My dad was very big on getting to work early, getting to where you need to be early. So school starts at 7 a.m. He dropped me off at 5:30.
Wow.
I was part of the first 4-year class. So the very first year they opened, I was right there the very first day, and I was waiting for the janitor to come in to open the doors. So, hey, that's something that I'm always going to have on everybody, you know. So
He's showing up early, getting the work done, ready to work. I love that.
I guess so, even in ninth grade, you know. But, yeah, and then I ended up going to UNLV. I studied secondary education. I wanted to be a teacher. I really liked history, World War II. Honestly, I was just dived into the Hitler and what he did, and that whole, the U.S., America's greatest generation, kind of, you know, getting together to do whatever it is they needed to do to beat the Axis power, you know. But I thought that was so interesting. So I just kind of dove into UNLV and I studied that. Then I realized, man, his teachers don't make a lot of money, like respectfully, you know, and that's its own issue. It really is, you know. But after that, I met my now wife, and we kind of just moved in together, not quickly. It took a while. We did it, but we ended up moving in together, and I needed to find a job. I worked at Pizza Hut my senior year in high school. Then I went to the Stardust of all places, which is now Resorts World. So I was able to work there for like a year, and then I met Don Rickles. I don't know if you know who Don Rickles is.
No.
He's like an old school comedian, like 60s, 70s, you know. So he's cool. And then just so much history. You know, I think of Resorts World, and I don't see Resorts World. I see the Stardust, you know. Mm-hmm. And then I was lucky enough to get a job at the Bellagio. So there was when I was really introduced to, like, service, hospitality, what is true service. So I became a bus person there. And I kind of went around from there. I went to the Wynn and opened the Palazzo, and I got offered a job at the Aria. And I started there as a bus person, room service. And I got offered a job for assistant butler, and I took it. They offered it to me because I worked hard, but I didn't know much. So I took it, and I felt so dumb because I didn't know service like I should have for a butler. But I was an assistant butler, so I made it a mission to learn. I got on some books. I went to the library. I rented out a whole bunch. I went on Amazon. I bought books. I took courses on YouTube. I did what I needed to do. Sure enough, I became a butler later on. Then I became a lead butler. And, yeah, I grew on from that, you know. So hospitality is very beautiful once you do it correctly. You know, once you have a synchronized service, it's very, very beautiful, and it's in awe, really, once you really see how it is, you know, like being serviced without saying anything. It's just automatically, you know, looking at what it is that you're using. Your ink runs out, go get another one without you saying anything. Your glass is halfway, let's go get you another glass without you saying anything. You know, that's just like, it's really, really good service. So that's what I really focused on, making sure I made an impression, you know. And I always was the type of person to stay busy. So I always needed to stay busy. My mind needed to stay sharp. I always needed to do something. When I was a lead butler, I gave 120%. I'll come home exhausted. I'll watch baseball, basketball, football, and I'll go to sleep. And that's really all I did. I put all my energy into that. You know, COVID comes around, and I'm already a lead butler. I'm furloughed for 3 months. I'm the type of person that needs to do something. I need to be active, So how can I show my services to Las Vegas? Me, how can I, somebody that's been a butler, been in hospitality, what can I provide the city of Las Vegas? So one thing that we did was gift baskets. That was an amenity for a villa. So I said, so I started doing my research, and I started calling people, and I said, hey, so this basket, who's the distributor? Hey, who's the distributor for that? Hey, how can I get this? Hey, what can I get that? The chef at Aria said, what are you trying to do? And I said, I have this idea. I want to create a gift basket company, but have it delivered in white gloves. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, a gift basket delivery company, but everything's delivered in a suit and white gloves as a standard. That way I get to show Las Vegas like true hospitality. And he's like, oh, damn, Dennis, that's great. So he contacted me with all the people that I needed to, and sure enough, 3 months later, I'm in the city of North Las Vegas at the time, getting my business license for my company, man. And ever since then, we've just been doing this. It's hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, the one thing that I want to kind of revert back to was you said something very subtly there, which was you were going out to the library and you were consuming as much knowledge as possible to be a better version of your service, being able to learn more things to be able to be the best version of, the assistant butler or the lead butler inside the organization. Where did that tact of consuming information to become better?
I guess call me old school, really, but that's what I would do. My brother went to the military when I was like 12 years old, and my other brother worked. So I was kind of by myself. When we first moved here, when I was 12 years old, that first summer, I had no friends and I had nobody to go with. So what did I do? I rode my bike to the North Las Vegas Library. Yeah, and honestly, that's where I spend my summer. I would go and I'll get books and I'll take them home, and every week I'll go. So I guess that was just in me. I guess that was just my tactic. I would go to the library, and I have an $8 fee there now, by the way.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I guess just old school. My wife still takes my kids to the library. So yeah, we're big on the library.
I think that's amazing, because one of the things I know about entrepreneurship in general is nothing against the education system, but they never really teach you the skill sets that you need to be a successful entrepreneur. And there's so much available resources out here, information, education on YouTube and the library. There's so many books out there. And so when I always talk to different people who are in the process of building a business or trying to better themselves, they often say, I don't have anybody to learn from, right? Or I'm not in the right environment to learn from the people who I want to learn from. But I always think about the access to information that is out there at the library, the free resources, and you're living proof that you can actually kind of hone those skills by going out and consuming knowledge and building a skill set to be able to be your own boss and your own entrepreneur. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, that wasn't the goal at that time. The goal was to not feel stupid. The goal was these butlers talk about the 5 first growths of wine, and the different grapes, and, what's a champagne and, what's a chateau. So that's what they're talking about. And I didn't know what any of that was, So I went and I got a book called Wine, Wine. And it's the biggest book you're ever going to see, So I said, and I would go to the dining table, and I'm already like 24, 23 or something like that. And I'm going to the dining table and I'm just reading my book. Because honestly, I need to get better at it. A year later, I was able to be comfortable with myself, with what I knew, and I already knew enough. And I kind of just kept it going and kept on building. So yeah, man, it's there. Resources are there. You just have to really look for it. YouTube was great. I would go on YouTube and look at different ways to serve. Like, there's a different ways to serve a Chinese dinner as opposed to an American or a Western dinner. There's different ways for Indian people. How do you serve them? There's different ways to greet. The Indian people don't like their hand shaken.
Right.
They like a bow. So it's just different etiquettes all around the world. We had to learn all of them.
Wow. So the one thing that I really love about hospitality in general is everything that you've talked about today is creating that value without having to actually put any type of like interaction on it, and like being able to create an environment of support and I would say just service in general, I think is so interesting. And that was something that I never really experienced the intricacies of hospitality when I didn't live here in Las Vegas. But the fact that we are literally one of the most hospitable places where people come to be served and come to have just an amazing experience is something that I didn't really kind of focus on before I moved here. And so the fact that you found yourself in that space, I think is just so cool. But now that you've been able to weaponize it into a business is something completely different than that.
Absolutely. That's its own animal. Like I told you, hospitality is very unique. And if you go to like Mario Carbone, and they have the table the table French serving, they come and they bring you the Caesar salad and they do it. That's all an art, really. That's hospitality at its finest. So you have to really like take a look back, see it, and kind of just enjoy it because it's beautiful, really.
Yeah.
As far as weaponizing it, that wasn't my goal. Honestly, I was just trying to be a better version of me the whole time. That was never my goal. I'm glad that I was able to use it. I was glad because I think everybody has a skill set. You just have to know what it is and really use it. And I think people kind of live their lives without knowing what use they have. But I think everybody can have a skill and really put it to good use.
Yeah. So one thing I want to talk about is the pandemic, right? Mm-hmm. So took the world by storm, right? And before we hopped on today, we were talking about Kobe Bryant, and kind of my indicator of when things were going to start going bad is when Kobe passed away, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing that I think is really interesting is there were two choices that we could make during the pandemic, right? Everything shuts down. Either people are going to start sitting home and they're going to start wasting their time by just sitting on Netflix. They're going to start just like hanging around. Some people got into bad habits. What was your experience like? Did you recognize an opportunity for yourself to kind of go all in on yourself because the hospitality space in itself had kind of shut down? Or what was that kind of like realization, aha moment that was like, I have a real opportunity to start my own business now? What was that like?
I have always been the type that needs to be busy, so I would run on my treadmill in my garage. So I would constantly run 3 miles, just 27 minutes every day. So I would just try and stay busy. And I was at home one day and I said, I can't do this. I was depressed. I was like, no, I can't be home. It was great being with my wife and kids. Honestly, it was really good, but I'm the type that I need to stay active. My mind needs to stay active. So I said, okay, what can I do? So then I thought about it and I'm like, oh, we did gift baskets. That was cool. So then, like I told you, I started putting everything together and I started looking at prices and I started seeing what makes sense for me, like what can we sell. Then I started looking at realtors and I saw, realtors use gift baskets, so now people are like, hey, Dennis, that's so smart. You work with realtors. That was the goal from the very beginning. Like that was my plan going into this, was going into business with realtors, and it's worked because the value that we add to realtors is so high. It really is. People remember the Gift-Lux basket. They remember the realtor because it's an experience like they never had. They get the basket, it's delivered in a suit and white gloves. It's something they've never had before. And then they call their realtor right away and say, hey, that was the coolest, nicest gift we've ever gotten. What does the realtor do? Says, hey, Dennis, good job. We got another one in 2 days. I said,
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. And it kind of just kept on steamrolling. Then another realtor saw and say, hey, who was that? Like, oh, that's Gift-Lux Company. They do, oh, really? Hey, what are your prices? Hey, what can we do? Hey, how do you do it? And it kind of just honestly started steamrolling that way. But for us, that was the goal from the very beginning. It just made sense.
Wow. The one thing that I've been paying a lot of attention to, and I think we might have talked about this while we were having coffee together when we first met. There's a guy out there named Alex Hormozi who talks about when there's two different versions to be able to grow a company. One is by promotion, so being out in the streets and marketing and telling people about what you're doing. But the more powerful way to grow your business is by word of mouth referral. And the only way that you can pull that off is by having a value proposition that is so valuable, and or the experience of the delivery of that value proposition is so good that other people are willing to tell their friends about it. And I love how you have kind of focused in on the value that you're creating, it's obviously so impressive that you have a multiplicative compounding vehicle inside your business, because it's like once somebody experiences it, somebody else is going to want it as well. Did you tactfully kind of think about that, or was it just like naturally that's just kind of how it flowed for you?
Naturally, that's kind of how it flew, honestly. Naturally, thankfully, right? That's kind of how it flew. I wasn't expecting that. At the end, I was gonna do it as a hobby. I was gonna say, oh, I could do that, and then I could do this, and then, I didn't think it was gonna take off like it did. It was meant to just kind of be a hobby and kind of keep me busy. And I watched a lot of sports, so it was gonna be a way for me to not watch sports.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of sports. Ridiculous. I'm a walking sports encyclopedia.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good, but now I said, okay, I figured I can still do Aria, and I feel I can still, do Gift-Lux, and I didn't think it was going to take off like it really did.
Yeah. And now, I mean, it's like a full-time thing. You guys are growing the team. You guys are doing more and more deliveries month over month, which is absolutely amazing. So one of the things I know a lot of people also struggle with is kind of taking that big leap from the security of a job and starting their own venture as an entrepreneur. So let's talk a little bit about the mindset that kind of came along with that big leap for yourself. When you're at home, you're running 3 miles a day, you're always somebody who has to stay busy. You've got this idea based on your experience in your job of what value you can bring from a gift basket perspective. But were there any early kind of moments of fear that you had to overcome in taking the leap to start your own business? What was that like?
It's so scary, man. I think most people don't start a business because they're scared, scared to fail, or scared to be seen, or scared to promote themselves. It's hard, getting a phone and posting a video and then showing it on social media, and people are going to judge you, criticize you. That's a reason why people are like, oh, I don't want to do that. But it's hard kind of just saying, oh, well, I think I have a good product, and I think I trust myself, to like really, I think I can show value to the community. Because for me, when I also did it, I think about, and this might get dark, but we're all going to live and we're all going to die, so you got to build something. That's the way you kind of really get remembered, is building something. So I want to get remembered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all want to be remembered for something, but like you said, that sense of hesitancy to like put ourselves in a vulnerable position is incredibly scary.
100.
So my question is from a support perspective, right? I know that you have a big family. I know that you've got kids. What was the kind of conversations you were having with your partner about wanting to start your own business? Were they as supportive as you envisioned them being, or did you have to have some tough conversations about like, hey, it's time for me to bet on myself?
That's it's a special topic because my wife is very supportive, thankfully. She's always had my back, and I don't think I had her back. I don't think I had her back as much as I should have, but I can't say the same. She's always been there, been my rock, so.
That's amazing. I mean, and sometimes it takes going through experiences where maybe we don't show the support for our partner like we should. You know what I mean? But the fact that you can sit here today and say, hey, I have that self-awareness to recognize that I should have been more supportive only means that you're going to be more supportive in the future.
Try to.
For
sure, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, be more cautious. I the type of person that I'm not perfect, so I always try to see my faults and then get better at it. We're all humans. So I know that I'm going to make mistakes. So how can I not make it so big, and how can I stop it from happening? But that we're gonna make mistakes. Oh man, it might not be my intention, and I never have an ill intention. But yeah, mistakes do happen. But it's all about recovery. We've made mistakes with deliveries. And it's all about how we recover. We've delivered baskets that they might tell us, hey, drop it off in this office, and our receptionist is like, oh, we'll take it, and our delivery ambassador was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what are you doing? They didn't tell you to do that. They told you to deliver it there. So how are we going to recover from that? So honestly, owning the situation, saying, hey, you know what, I'm sorry, that's our fault. We're going to give you the next basket for free, and we're not even going to charge you for this one. And it is what it is. You just take that L because you messed up, so you have to do right. Always do right.
There's a lot of people that, don't have the ability to take that sense of ownership for things that we're in control of, especially in business today. I think it's very easy for people to kind of point fingers and be like, oh, well, it was their fault, or the person at the front desk said they'll take the basket.
Yeah.
So how do you, as a leader of your team, kind of re-emphasize best practice and or teach people in those moments where we mess up how they can do better next time? Like, where did you develop that sense of coaching, I guess you would say, as the leader of your organization?
Well, it all starts and ends with me, right? So at the end of the day, if the company makes a mistake, it's my fault. It's not anybody else's fault. If the basket got delivered to the wrong person, it's me. You know, they're not gonna, and they don't care. At the end of the day, the clients aren't gonna care, and they shouldn't care. You know, but we have to make it right to make sure that we do right by them. You know, but it all starts and it ends with me. As much as business owners, CEOs, you know, they have big egos and they never want to take the blame.
Right.
You know, but at the end of the day, whose fault is it really?
That sense of accountability is something that, you know, I really try and lean into, because it takes the power away from every situation when we're willing to kind of put everything on our chest and say, hey, that was my fault. I'm the leader of this organization. The buck stops with me. And that's something that I wish more people would start deploying in this world, because it's very easy, like I said, to cast blame and to give our power away to other people.
Oh, it is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You know, that's something that I can't even be mad at my team. Honestly, I can't. If something happens, I'm going to be mad at myself. I can't be mad at my coordinator. I can't be mad at anybody. It's going to be me that has to be mad at myself, you know, and it's me that apologizes and says, hey, it's my fault. I own it. I'm sorry. It won't happen again, you know, but it's me that does it. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that I'm very interested in is kind of the tactics of growing your business. So when it's just you, how do you start accumulating clients or leads who can be your customers? What did that look like for you in the early stages?
So what that looked like for me is, so we got our licenses like November 2020. So we got our license November 2020, and our website went up and running, and awesome. The Gift-Lux.net is good. We're up. We're in business, and we have no deliveries. You know, there's a friend of mine that helped me. He's like, hey, actually, there's a friend in Primerica that is pretty big, and I think that he would use your services. And I said, oh, okay, cool. So his office was in Town Square, and it was a complimentary basket, obviously. So I went over and I said, hi, you have a Gift-Lux delivery. And I was nervous and I didn't know what to say or do. You know, it's the first delivery ever.
Yeah.
You know, so it ended up being that they loved it and they're like, what is this? You know, from the very first basket, you know, and I was like, oh, that was a cool reception. I wake up the next day and I have a email for an order. And I'm like, oh, I got an order.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, what? So I look at the phone and the name, and it was the person that I delivered to yesterday, the very first recipient. So they went on the website and they placed an order. And I'm like, oh, what? You know, so that was our very first, like, order the very next day, you know, and then it kind of just, they used us several times after that. And then kind of it spread out really quick. But then it wasn't big enough to get realtors.
Right.
So what did we do for realtors? You know, because that was the goal to begin with. So we needed to create baskets that accommodated their clients, right? So for their baskets, they needed something that was going to be like a new home. So they needed like a new home basket. My mentality was, okay, let's give them something that they are going to keep. You go to Sam's Club, you go to Costco, there's going to be a basket and it's going to be full of snacks. It's going to throw everything else away. It's going to be like, oh, cool. And it's going to go in the trash. I didn't want that. I wanted something that they're going to keep in the house that's going to remember, that they're going to remember the realtor. They're going to remember Gift-Lux. You know, the basket that we use are wood-based baskets because they're not going to throw it away.
Yeah.
They're going to put their coffee in it. They're going to put their keys in it. It's going to be somewhere in their house. They don't throw the basket away. So now you have my name, Gift-Lux, in your house. You know, the new home basket has a cutting board, and it has glasses, and it has a succulent and a candle. So it's going to have something that you're always going to keep in your house. So my mentality is, let's keep it to where they're always going to keep something there. You know, so I kind of pitched that to realtors, and they're like, oh, that makes sense, because whenever they use that cutting board, they're going to know that I gave them that cutting board.
Yeah.
You know, the realtor. You know, so they're like, oh, oh, okay. And you deliver in the suit and white gloves, you know? So then I started looking at Instagram stories and I said, okay, who has a closing? You know, and then I reached out to this guy called Alberto the Mustache Realtor. And I said, hey, you have a closing. Do you have a gift? And he's like, no, I don't have a gift. And I'm like, bro, let me get you one. It's on me. He's like, what? Really? He's like, yeah. On me. I got it. I got it. Let me get the address and I'll tell him it's you.
Yeah.
And then we took our videographer and he saw the whole delivery. And that was the very first time that a realtor really like saw it, took a chance on it. He promoted it. And then with Simply Vegas, we kind of just took off with Simply Vegas brokerage. We kind of, right after that, we got a lot of their clients.
Dude, I mean, there's so much to digest in what you just said, because like the intuition to do research and to have that natural knack to say, I don't want to just give snacks away like so many people would, right? But you're saying, I want a item that is going to stay in the house that people are going to continue to see every single day.
Absolutely.
Where did this natural sense of being able to pick the right product for the right market come from? Because that's a skill that maybe you don't recognize, but like so many people don't take the time to think about the value proposition that they're delivering to that target demographic. So like, how did you naturally just kind of like come across that? Was it something you just naturally thought of, or like, what was that like?
I naturally came up with it.
Wow.
It just naturally made sense. It just made sense. There's going to be their snack basket. That's the intention. It's a snack basket. Mm-hmm. A new home basket, its intention is to make sure that it stays home. To me, it just always made sense. And everything, if you look at our website, besides a snack basket, it's for you to keep something in every basket. That's the intention of Gift-Lux.
Yeah. I mean, and even when you pulled up to the house today, right, you gave me one of the baskets, and even like my experience, because I know what you do, but like experiencing you delivering the basket in hand, especially you breaking down the box as well and talking about what's inside the box, what type of stuff is here, the cutting board, all of that kind of stuff is so valuable from a presentation perspective. So naturally, my mind goes to the place of hospitality and the services of being a butler. But you've now rolled those into the business model as well. And like, that's a huge part of the value proposition.
You know, I have people that reached out for that. Mm-hmm. There's people's birthdays, mom's birthdays, especially moms. Hey, it's my mom's birthday. I need a basket. Okay, what does your mom like? She wants our cutting board. She wants Don Julio. I said, oh, okay. They want the delivery. They want the whole breakdown of the basket. You know, that's a big point for us. That is what they're looking for. And afterwards, the mom's like, oh my gosh, that was great. It's that experience that you create. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. Man, it's so interesting to me that, you know, naturally you have such a knack for being an entrepreneur and being able to create value in all of your interactions. And that's something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with, especially when they start as a new entrepreneur. It's very difficult for them to be able to figure out, like, what am I going to be able to deliver? And I feel like a lot of people cut corners. I was listening to a podcast today by Alex Ramosi, and he was talking about the difference between trying to build a sustainable business and trying to build a short-term business is how much effort you put into the value proposition. And so naturally, as I'm kind of thinking about that episode today, it's like you've hit on all of the key pillars of presentation, the experience, the value proposition, the target demographic that you're going after. And it makes so much sense of why you guys are having so much success, because you've hit on all those key pillars. I mean, like, I'm not sure if it was just like something that you stumbled into, but it's like, this takes years of work and experience for people to be able to kind of hone down this type of value proposition. Like, I just want to kind of commend you for that, because it seems like it's happened so naturally for you.
Honestly, I wasn't even thinking about it. It kind of did just happen, you know. It just made sense to me. It just made sense, like the whole basket targeting realtors. It just made sense. I said, "Oh, Dennis, that's smart." It just makes sense, you know. I wasn't trying for it. It just, I wanted my name on the baskets. I want to make sure that the realtors felt like, oh man, it's value for them. They are always gonna see the cutting board. They are always gonna see the succulent there. They're gonna have referral him. Hey, I have a referral. That was cool. Let's get you another deal.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just kind of the way it goes. And let me tell you, we're starting phase 2.
Okay.
So phase 2 is gonna be completely different. So I started this in hopes of like getting business with real estate agents and loan officers, and to be honest with you, we kind of got that market. So we got that market. That's not gonna go nowhere. We have a team that's handling that already every day, so that's done. We're gonna always focus on it, but now how can we build and how can we grow? What can we do? And that's what phase 2 is.
Yeah.
So now it's going to be the general public.
Yeah.
So now we're going to focus on products that the general public can really use. So now it's going to be a true test for us because we're testing ourselves for the all of Las Vegas, not just realtors, loan officers. And we also have a phase 3 coming up next year, but everything in progress.
Yeah. So how do you keep the mindset? So it's like naturally when people start to become successful, right? I think we have a natural ability to kind of take our foot off the gas because it's like, okay, the business is growing, we're doing a great job. But how do you kind of keep a mentality of patience and being able to make sure you're making real good strategic moves to be able to not only grow the business, but make sure that you don't drop on the value proposition that you guys have been able to kind of hang your hat on so far? So
the value is our bread and butter. That's our bread and butter. So we need to add more value. How are we going to add more value? So we're a successful company, but we're not worldwide. So the ceiling's always higher. So yeah, we have so much to reach. We have so much bigger goals to reach. It's not going to end anytime soon. We have a lot. It's going to be a worldwide brand.
Yeah. So what does the process of scaling look like for you? Like what type of like decisions, what type of like strategic moves are you trying to pull off right now to make sure you're in a good position?
Trial and error.
Okay.
Trial and error. A lot of trial and error. So we want to create the product that we're creating next. It takes time, and it's just a trial and error basis. So right now we're in the process of sampling it. So right now we're sampling it. As soon as we perfect it, we're going to just market that. And you're going to see billboards, and you're going to see us in magazines, and you might even see us on TV, honestly. But that is what's going to make us. The next phase 2 is really going to really test us as a company, and it's going to test me as well. So
you as the leader of the organization, what type of strategic hires are you kind of putting around yourself? Because you can't do everything, right? You've got the vision for the company. So like, what does the hiring process look like for you? What type of team members are you trying to bring
Personality.
on? Okay.
Personality more than anything. I need someone that's genuine. Genuine is number one. You have to be genuine. You have to care. You have to have my vision. So if I bring you on the team, you have to understand where the company is, the potential of the company, and really like how big can it scale. And I think it can scale pretty big once we figure out the whole system, as far as scaling it as big as I want. It's going to be insane, but for us, it's going to be making sure that the personalities fit.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I hear, especially in the spaces that I'm in, people often ask the question, are you a B2B business or are you a B2C, so business to consumer business? And I always say we're a people to people business.
Absolutely.
And being able to emphasize that is so important. And like, I love hearing you say that like personality is the thing that I'm looking for in the team members that I bring on.
Yeah, that's the number one. It has to make sense. It has to be the right person with the right smile, with the right genuine care. It has to be just the right person. Not anybody can put on a suit and a white glove and just deliver a basket. We're not looking for, no offense, Amazon drivers. We're not looking for that. We're not looking for that at all. We need good interactions all the time.
So what does it look like when you have a team member who's not performing well? I was just listening to a Gary Vee conversation before you came over to the house, and he was saying one of the biggest things that people have trouble with when they're building and scaling a business is the process of hiring. So his emphasis is hire quick, but fire faster.
Absolutely.
And promote even faster than that. So when you've got team members who are really rock stars, bring them up in your organization, put them in positions to win, because they are the people who are going to really push your organization forward. So what does it look like for you when you're having to deal with a team member who comes on, but they're not performing well? What is your kind of mindset in approaching, hey, you're just not a good fit here?
You got to let them go quick. You do got to let them go quick. You know, like I told you, it's a vision for me. Personality is number one, and I said vision, I think it was number three. You know, but if I bring you on board, you got to understand where we are as a company. You know, and you have to really see the vision of where the company is gonna be, and trust me, you know that we're gonna get there.
Yeah. So what is your approach to having the conversations when you're articulating the vision of what your company is going to be? Because I know a lot of people have great ideas, and one of the biggest things is being able to communicate those ideas really effectively to the team members so they get buy-in. So how are you approaching some of those conversations with your team members, especially early stage?
I'm very passionate. I'm very passionate. When I speak to my team, I'm very passionate, and I think it shows. So when I do speak to them, they kind of, honestly, they just nod, and they all get the notebooks and they start writing, you know, because they kind of know as soon as I walk in, I could walk into this room and I'll be thinking about something. I'll be like, okay, guys, so what I'm thinking is, and they're like, they just kind of already know.
Yeah.
You know, that's just a type of individual that I am. I walk and I speak. And as I'm speaking, you know, even my wife, she already knows that, oh, shit, let me start writing notes, you know, because that's just how I am, you know. But I when I speak, the team needs to trust me. You know, I don't have any intention. I want to take care of my team very well. It's not easy. You know, any job is not easy, but the goal that we have is not easy, you know, but they have to trust me. I'm very genuine when I want to take care of them, and I do want to take care of them financially, and we're going to grow, and you know, everybody on my team is going to grow.
Yeah.
And that's a goal. You know, we're going to open franchises in every city here in the U.S., you know. So, hey, guess what? I have a delivery ambassador here. Maybe he wants to go to New York, or maybe he wants to go to San Diego. Maybe he wants to go to Miami. It could vary, you know. We'll send him out there to open Gift-Lux, you know, trust him enough, you know, and that's it, really. But they see how big it can scale, and trust me, they are all on board.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I think about is like your problems with scalability are really kind of eliminated because of the value proposition that you guys have. You know, I love the fact of when you're willing to get into a new organization or into a new market, right? You're willing to give away your product for free. And often entrepreneurs have a really tough time with that because they're like, I work so hard, I need to be paid for these things. And one of the best ways that you can deliver value is by giving away your value proposition for free. And if it's good enough, people are going to talk about it. And so is that kind of what your model looks like when you think about expanding into different places? Like, hey, let's just do more of what we've already done here. And we know that's got a track record for success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can go to any city, do that. I know that we can go to any city. You know what? It has to make sense from a city standpoint. Like Houston, that's too big a city.
Yeah.
You can't do as many deliveries in Houston as you do here because there's a lot of traffic. Or Atlanta, for example. Cities with really bad traffic, you're just not going to get your value's worth from a delivery ambassador. One delivery ambassador can do 20 deliveries here. In Atlanta, they might do 8. Houston, they might do 7.
Yeah.
It really varies, you know. So it really, the city that we go to has to make sense. San Diego is not that big.
Yeah.
You know, San Diego is a really good market. Why? Because there's a lot of high-end homes there. We take our business there. I see us being Seattle, same thing. You know, so it's just the cities do matter.
Man, you're sitting on like a rocket ship, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It's because like you guys have such a good value proposition. You guys have really boiled down the fundamentals of the business, which are amazing. Are there any type of mentors that you've had in your career that have kind of been able to give you some of the insights by giving you the cheat codes, if you will, that have helped you kind of avoid some potholes or some, you know, landmines along this journey of growth?
You know, there's people that I listen to, one of them being our first recipient for Gift-Lux, Miguel Guzman, the wealthy one on Instagram. You know, he coached me a lot on it, really. He did. I got into this entrepreneur journey, you know, and I didn't know anything about it. I did not know anything. I delivered a basket and I posted it on Instagram, and I don't know how to sell myself. I don't know how to sell the company. I don't know how to be consistent. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know. So then I just kind of saw his videos, and he's like, oh, you got to do it every day. You got to show up every day. You got to put the work in every day. So I said, oh, okay. I mean, the least, and my mentality is the least I could do is make sure that I work every day. That's the least I could do. I'm not watching sports now. I was watching a lot, you know. I said, so let me put my energy into this, you know. And it's hard, honestly, being a startup entrepreneur. It's hard because I wouldn't get any business in the very beginning, you know. I wouldn't get any recognition. People were already going to who they were going to for baskets. It wasn't until I started giving the baskets away that people are like, wait a minute. And then people saw the value, you know. But yeah, it was hard. There was a whole month there in July. I didn't have one delivery,
Yeah.
you know, but I still showed up every single day.
Would that be a piece of golden knowledge that you would give to the audience as an example of these people who are looking to start their own thing? And if you could boil it down into a simple piece of, I would say, information or a tip for them, is that you have to show up every single day?
There's no recipe, you know, besides hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to show up every day. Like, it's not going to build itself. Kobe, what would Kobe do?
He would show up every day, multiple times a day,
Yeah.
and put in the work.
Yeah. And look how successful he became, you know? So there is no recipe besides hard work.
Yeah. Wow. It's absolutely amazing to kind of hear about your journey, because when you have a good product market fit and you deliver value that exceeds everybody else, because naturally, who are your competitors?
The closest one I would say is edible arrangement for the time being.
And I think that that's a really good assessment, because that's naturally where my mind goes to.
Yeah,
But
right.
you know what the biggest issue I have with those guys?
Did they drop it off in the front?
They drop it off and run. Exactly. And it's like, oh, where did this come from? And then sometimes the fruit isn't great. There's no presentation. I don't understand what I'm really getting. So they're leaving so many gaps in that delivery process.
Notice I said for the time being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it, man. Seriously. Man, it's crazy, because I know that we're going to look back on these times in a couple years and really kind of just like laugh about this stuff. You know what I mean? Because like you have such a powerful business vehicle underneath you. And especially as you start to continuously grow your team tactfully, and you make sure you're bringing on the right people and you don't lose that sense of value that you're able to articulate so much, you guys are going to be in a completely different atmosphere. Because like, I don't know anybody who does the thing that you do.
No, honestly, I am confident. I met with a real estate agent last week, and he said, no, a loan officer. He said, hey, well, if I can go to, you know, New York, he said, if I can go to New York and, you know, get a real estate agent there and do business with them and fly back, and I can, you know, do potentially business with $1 million homes. You know, if I can like find someone like Gift-Lux over there, you know what I said? I said, oh, good luck.
Yeah.
You know, because there is nobody like me. And I know that, you know, nobody has dedicated their time to hospitality and said, oh, let me go ahead and focus on this. No one's going to do that. You're going to have edible arrangements, 1-800-Flowers. That's who that really is. You're going to have people who go to like TJ Maxx or Home Goods and kind of build their baskets.
Yep.
And, you know, kudos to them. You know, but it's not on the same scale. And I know it's not on the same scale, respectfully. You know, I meet with agents now, you know, that are successful, and I tell them, hey, I can add value to your business. And they say, well, how can you add value? And I say, well, this is what we do. And then they say, okay, well, when can you start?
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, it's not even a, hey, I'm looking forward to your business. It's not, we don't have those conversations anymore. You know, now it's like, hey, I really think that, you know, you really need us. I think you need us.
Right.
And then they say, what? You know, because it's how I feel, and it's the truth. There's a cookie company in town called Baked Cookies.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of them?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Okay. They haven't opened yet. They open up in 2 months. You know, they reached out and they wanted their cookies in our basket.
Wow.
Yeah. 2 months prior to opening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So guess what?
Got cookies on the way.
We got cookies on the way. That's
Yeah.
right. It just makes sense. It's a good, I met with them. Awesome people, Chad, you know, great people. It has to make sense. We don't go into business with everybody to go into business with anybody. It can be Donald Trump. It has to make sense. For me, it has to make sense for him. It has to be genuine on their end, and it has to be genuine on my end. You know, so I said, oh, okay. I saw the cookies, tried the cookies. I said, oh, those are really good, man. I love it. It comes in a nice casing. I said, perfect. You know, so we discussed pricing. We discussed everything. I said, okay, this is something that I feel comfortable with. They went as far as saying, hey, for the stickers, we can put your name on the cookies.
Yes.
You know, and I said, no, I don't want that.
Wow.
Because that's your brand.
Touche.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's like some things that when you think about brand protection, right? You don't want somebody's poor made cookie to be representing your brand that way. Or what is your mindset behind kind of saying no to that?
My mindset is he worked for it. It's going to be his company, you know, and all I'm doing is putting his cookies in my basket. There's no reason for me to put Gift-Lux on a cookie that I'm only delivering. You
Touche.
know? Yeah. So he did the blood, the sweat, the tears. Give him the credit.
Yeah.
All I'm doing is cooperating with him by partnering with him and putting them in my basket. That's all I'm doing. You know, at the end of the day, he has his business and I have my business, you know, and we're here to help each other out. That's it.
Man, I mean, there's just so many like golden gems that you continue to drop here. The fact that you are doing collaborations, right, with other value add customers and partners who can create a better experience for your end customer is absolutely brilliant. I just think that there are so many things that other people could learn from your business tactics when it comes to creating a value proposition, because often I think that we think collaboration means more value, right? But often there are certain levels of collaboration that don't bring value, like you talked about with the cookies as an example. How do you kind of strategically go through the decision-making process of who would make a good partner for you and who wouldn't?
They have to be genuine. I have to meet with them. Their product has to make sense on my basket, you know, and I have to meet with them. I don't do business with anybody that I don't know, and I have to make sure that I have a good feel. And then I bring a team member along with me, you know, and my team member is always with a notebook, and they're always taking notes, you know, but it has to make sense. They have to be genuine. It has to add value. This is an amazing cookie. It really, really is. And I was very happy when they reached out to me and I saw it and I tasted it. When I tasted it, I said, oh, home run.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Gift-Lux customers are going to be getting their cookies moving forward. Now I'm helping him market, you know, and Gift-Lux customers get a really good product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like you're just taking all the value from all the different customers or all your different partners, and then laying that in front of your customer as well. The thing that I keep picking up intuitively is your emphasis on the customer rather than the business. You know, a lot of people in today's world love to get publicity around the things that they do, right, as the organization themselves. But you kind of have reverse engineered and you've really focused on the end user experience, the customer, and the things that they experience in receiving your basket. That's always been something that you've done naturally, or did that come from your hospitality experience as well?
I guess come from my hospitality experience, you know. It's about them at the end of the day. It's not about me. You know, they're the ones getting the baskets. And you know who else is happy? My repeat customers that actually order baskets to recipients, and then they see the product that's going there. As soon as they saw that we're collaborating with Baked Cookies, they said, yes, because they know that their clients are going to start getting those.
Yeah.
So now they see that and they said, oh, yes, that's perfect. So now they're excited about the products that are inside. You know, so it's a win-win-win for me.
Yeah. And I love the win-win mentality because at the end of the day, true collaboration is all about creating victories for everybody, right? I heard Gary Vaynerchuk as well talk about he's left a lot of money on the table in some of his partnerships and some of the deals that he's done with other influential business people. He's always like, I'm willing to take 49 to give somebody else 51 because if we're really hitting home runs like the way that I believe we could, then 49% of this is enough for me. And it seems like you kind of have that same mentality.
Yeah, I do. It's not about, at the end of the day, it's not about me. You know, it's about making sure that the product is good, making sure that we hit the nail on the head with the delivery, making sure that they have a really good experience because Gift-Lux is an experience. Yeah.
Man, that's absolutely amazing. I just think that you've just reversed engineered the process of delivering value through your business in such an efficient manner that I really can't think of any type of obstacles for growth. Like, what are some of the things that you think about or like keep you up at nighttime as an example that you have to solve in the future for this business to get as big as you want it to?
We're not there. We're not there yet. We're not where we need to be. You know, it's a really good business and it's a really good product, but we're not there yet, you know, and until we get there, I won't be happy, you know, so I'm going to continue to not be happy until we get there. I'm going to always do right by it and always make sure that I don't cheat it. Don't cheat the business. Don't cheat myself. But I won't be happy until I know that we've reached where I know we can reach.
Yeah.
So until we get there, I'm always going to have the same mentality. It's a good, successful business, but guess what? I'm not happy.
And it can be so much more.
It can be a lot more.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for challenges. I like feeling uncomfortable because challenges make me feel uncomfortable. Everybody stays in the same spot, and everybody wakes up, goes to work, comes home, eats dinner, watches TV, goes to sleep. That's just kind of the routine, and then I did that. I did that for a long time. I was very complacent. I realized that I need to feel uncomfortable to get better. Right now, we're in a good spot and we're comfortable, which is why we started phase 2. Phase 2 is gonna really, really test us, so I'm excited for it, and I'm excited to tell you what phase 2 is once the camera's off.
Yeah, exactly. So my question for you is that sense of comfortability, right, is really dangerous because of exactly what you just kind of identified. Is we need challenges to keep pushing us forward. So can you describe to the audience what your place of complacency was? And did you have a light bulb turn on that was like, hey, I just need to start pushing myself? What was that motivation? Where'd that come from?
I've never done anything for myself, really, like from a business perspective. I've never done anything for me. My wife has tried to do some things here and there, but I never did anything for me. So when I really started doing this, I said, no, this has to be all me. So I said, I need to make sure I don't cheat it, and I need to make sure I do everything right, and I need to make sure I do right by it. So I always try to not cheat it.
What is that feeling of cheating yourself? Because I've been thinking about this a lot recently. I have moments where I will talk to myself in a way of saying, it's okay to take time off. It's okay to not push it. It's okay to not do the work. It's okay to not show up every single day. And the older and older I get, I realize that those conversations, and when I don't keep those small promises to myself, they start infiltrating my mindset. And when I let those infiltrate my mindset, it's like an avalanche, right? It starts off with a couple pieces of snow that are going down the hill, and then they start gathering other momentum behind them. And so what is kind of, that process of not feeling like you can't be complacent with yourself, if that makes sense?
Guilt. I feel guilt. If I cheat something, I feel guilt, and no one's gonna know, or if I don't wake up and go to work, it's okay, but I know, so I try to not do it, and then I feel cheap. I feel like, oh man, I should have done it. Why didn't I do it? It's like when you don't want to go to the gym, like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym today, but then you don't go, and then you look back and you're like, man, I just should have gone. Why? I wasted a day. I just should have gone. That's a day that you're not going to get back, that you just decide to do nothing, so I don't like that feeling. I don't mind it for me personally, like if it's something for me, but when it has to do with the business, I cannot do that. Yeah, I always have to show up.
And your business, this is something I always like to talk about as well. Our businesses are reflections of ourselves, right? If we are lazy, our businesses are going to be lazy. If we're disorganized, our businesses are going to be disorganized. And I think really, and I'm not trying to attach, because the older I get, I often kind of work to create that separation between myself from a value perspective and my business. So it's like some days when the business isn't doing well, I don't like to tear myself down, if that makes sense. And so one of the things that I often try to focus on is the value that we create in our own lives is really kind of reflective in our business, because it definitely is a reflection of who we are in general.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's something that's super important to me. And I think about that a lot these days.
Absolutely. I 100%. Your work ethic shows. Your work ethic shows. I wake up at 5 a.m. and I go to sleep at 1 a.m., and I don't sleep much, and I'm always working because we have a mission. And I tell my wife, hey, just bear with me. You know, it's not always gonna be like. It's been a couple years actually.
Yeah.
It's not always gonna be like this. You know, I'm gonna get time, and I'm doing this to get more time. You know, and I keep on working on it. You know, so we went on vacation not too long ago, and I think I told you this, that she was like, "Hey, are you gonna come on vacation with us?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She's like, "Well, because you're just not home, and I need to buy the tickets, you know, to the theme parks, and I don't know if like you're gonna come with us, and if you're busy, I don't want to like you know take you from it." And you know, I have to catch myself and say, "Oh man, yeah, of course I'm gonna go." You know, like how can I not go on vacation? Yeah, please, yeah, get the tickets for us. You know, but I do have to slow down and kind of realize what it is that you have and kind of enjoy it, you know, because I have a beautiful family. I don't enjoy them as much as I should or as much as I want to,
Right.
you know, but yeah, I guess that's the cons of entrepreneurship, right? Yeah, you
And
want money, you want time, you know, but in order to get time, you need money, you know. So it's just, yeah, until we get to where we need to be and we have infinite time and money, then we're gonna fully be Jeff Bezos status, I guess, you know. But until then, we have to work until we get to our goal.
yeah, there's a guy I follow on YouTube. His name is Ed Milet. And a couple of years ago, 2020, 2021, I was living in Hawaii, and I stumbled across his content for the first time.
Okay.
And I would go to the gym at 5. I'd be there at like 5:30. And I would watch his YouTube videos in the morning. And he would always talk about someone has to make the decision to be that guy in your family lineage who is willing to put in the work to put your family ahead. And that's something that's always stuck with me. And now when I think about my responsibility in my family lineage is like, I want to be that guy who's willing to put in the work and is willing to sacrifice to put everybody else who comes behind me, who might not know exactly who I am, but I put them in a position to live a different life. Do you kind of feel that responsibility as well?
I do. I do. My brother, I'm the youngest. I have a sister, oldest. I have two older brothers. One of them lives in Mexico. The other one lives here. And yeah, they're all looking. My parents, they're all kind of just looking at what we're doing, you know, and they tell me, I don't know how you do that. Like, I don't know how it is that you do everything that you do. They see my day and they're like, man, I honestly, my respects to you, because it's 3 a.m. and they text me and I'm still doing baskets.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, and they're like, bro, you're still awake? It was Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. It was Friday night and it was 3 a.m. and he's like, hey, are you going to have the fight tomorrow at the house? They were going to come over.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, bro, I am. I'm going to have the fight for sure. And he's like, you're still awake? And I sent him a picture of us still finishing the baskets. And then he's like, man, you know, respects, like seriously. But that's what it takes to change how it was. My dad was a dishwasher at the MGM, and honestly, man, it was poor upbringings. I didn't have much money. I played baseball, and my brother had to buy me my supplies, you know, and I still have it. I still have my baseball glove. I give it to my son now, which is cool. But my parents didn't give me much. They didn't have much to give me. I'm not mad or anything, but they just didn't have much. Now, it's changed. My kids have a lot more than what I had. That's the goal, right? To always get better.
Yep.
Hopefully, they do the same for their kids, you know? Hopefully, they can. My thing now is appreciating it. If they can appreciate what they have, because they have it really good, you know? But do they know that they have it good?
Probably not.
Probably not, you know? So I don't want them being brats neither.
Yeah.
You know, so like teaching them values and teaching them, you know, what to and what not to do. So what do? I started bringing my oldest around. My daughter started her senior year today, you know. So what did I do? I just started bringing her around. And there's an entrepreneur event. There's a networking event. Come on, Angie, let's go. You know, so I kind of just take her with me to show her how it is so that she can kind of see. And the whole goal was for her to see how hard I work, you know. And in that journey, she looked back and says, Dad, That's so cool. Yeah.
And it makes it all worth it, you know? I mean, I remember you telling me that story when we met up for coffee the first time, and I thought it was so amazing how you're giving your daughter a glimpse into what it takes to be successful. You know, my dad always used to drag me around to different places, and he would be like, hey, you need to meet these people and do this kind of stuff. So the one thing I want to ask you is, what is your emphasis on networking? And if you have an emphasis on it, why is it so important?
Networking is very important, honestly. You go to these events and you don't know anybody. Honestly, you don't know. Now it's changed a little bit. So I went to this event, and I remember I went to NAREP, National Hispanic Realtors Association, and I was looked down on because I was a gift basket company, and everybody was like, "Oh, I'm a real estate.
I'm a big realtor." Yeah, exactly.
So they all have that, the atmosphere. It was just that atmosphere, and I just felt so uncomfortable and so out of place, And I left like upset a little bit, but the situation. I didn't say anything to anybody. I'm driving home. My friend now, Chris Torres, sent me a message on Instagram and said, "Hey, bro, I saw you at the NAREP event." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. How come you didn't say hi?" He's like, "I wasn't sure if it was you or not." So we would just message every so often.
Yeah.
And now we're boys. Now we go coffee together. We grab breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. Now we kind of just hang out, But if it wasn't for networking that way, now we have a friendship, and now I'm close with everybody in his brokerage. So it's pretty important, man. Now we go to events and people know who Gift-Lux is. Now everything has changed.
Yeah.
Everything has changed. If people don't know about us, they're like, "Oh, what's wrong with you? You don't know who Gift-Lux is?" In the real estate and loan officer side, now it's just completely changed.
Yeah.
So that goes back to putting in the work. If it was a networking event, I was there. If I got invited to a magazine or whatever event, I promise you, I was going to be there. I needed to show face, and I was there with my white gloves, and I was always smiling. You have to show face.
And I feel like that's a great example of putting yourself in scary situations, because I know when you go into environments where you might not feel comfortable or feel 100% in your skin, then it's easy and it's kind of scary to be like, "Oh, I got to put myself in this spot and I'm not sure what people are going to think about me." But I think some of the biggest opportunities in life come from putting ourselves in those scary places.
Absolutely. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to run into. You just don't know, honestly. So I try to be the same always. I always try to be me. Just be myself. Be happy and comfortable with me. And it took me a long time to understand that. I think that's a lot of people's battle, understanding themselves and what they can and can't do, and worrying about people judging you. Once I would feel comfortable with that, bro, the sky was the limit, really. I go to events now, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it completely changed.
And the thing that I love about your, approach to networking is like you're delivering value to others, right? I mean, one of the things I heard recently about the importance of networking was talking about the emphasis of delivering value to as many people as you possibly can, right? Instead of taking from others, right? So sometimes people will often, a great example, I heard a story the other day where this lady was in line at like a cookie shop, and she was talking to her son, and she was like, "You have to get to know the owner of the cookie shop. You have to get to know these types of people in life, because you never know what they can do for you." But somebody who was talking on this podcast said she had the wrong perspective because she needed to be the person who other people needed to know. And so when I think about you going to these networking events, you're the person that everybody needs to know, because you're willing to deliver value to everybody there. And in reciprocation, you get more business from that. Does that make sense?
That makes absolute sense. So one thing that we do is we connect the community together, really. So we're Gift-Lux, and we're a gift basket delivery company. And how do we connect the community together? Everybody reaches out to us. We are connected with everybody. So everybody needs something from me. If I show up to an event, or people are throwing an event, they say, "Hey, Dennis, can you come to this event? And can you bring so-and-so? And can you tell this person?" And I say, "Oh, yeah, sure. I could do that. No problem." And then I call this person and said, "Hey, there's going to be this event. Are you able to make it?" "Oh, if you're telling me, yes, I'll be there." you know. So I'm like, oh, thank you, I appreciate you, thank you so much, you know. And they show up, so people just, I guess it shows, right? Like, you put in the work and you're genuine, people look after you.
Mm-hmm. What are some of your, let's kind of break this down for other people. What are some of your networking tips? When you go into a room and you don't know anybody, how do you introduce yourself to people? How do you kind of get to know everybody in that space?
So, you know, and I go back to this NARIP event. What I did was I let my inner Butler take over. I crack a conversation with him. You know, I look at his suit or I look at the hat. You know, I say, oh, that's a cool hat. Where you get it done at? What does the logo mean? You know, enough to just get comfortable with the person. You know, once the person drops their guard a little bit, you know, then we just kind of start conversing, and it just grows into a conversation. To be honest with you, at that point, I'm not even trying to pitch Gift-Lux or nothing. I'm just trying to have a conversation, one, so that I don't feel awkward. You know, so, hey, what's going on? That's a cool hat. That's dope. Where you get it done at? Oh, okay. Question. I know I just met you. How much did that cost? Do you have more? You know, and you kind of just, honestly, it just flows.
Yeah.
It just flows. And at the end, they say, oh, what do you do? Oh, so I run Gift-Lux. We're a high-end gift basket. Oh, really? And it just naturally happens. Yeah.
I mean, that's very powerful.
It is. I've gone to TJ Maxx with my wife, and my wife likes to shop, so I said, hey, I'm gonna just sit outside. And they had a bench, so I'm sitting outside, and there was a homeless guy there, you know. So I talked to a homeless guy for like 45 minutes. Homeless guy was there when we walked in. My wife walked out, you know. She saw the both of us just talking, you know. At the end, I gave him a few bucks, and then I left. And she's like, do you really just stay there talking to a homeless guy for 45 minutes? And I'm like, yeah, his name's Todd, by the way.
Yeah.
That was his name, you know, and he's from Notre Dame. What's it called? Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Yeah.
He's from Ann Arbor, you know, and he, like, lost his money here, and he's trying to get back home. So she's like, what? You know, that's just the kind of conversations I have with people, and it just, it shows, really. Like, you're in the elevator with, you know, somebody in the villas, you have to make conversation. So you have to, like, create it, and it just kind of comes.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so powerful, because some of the best relationships that I've had in business have always been just open conversations where I get to know somebody for who they are without trying to pitch them, right? And it's like, when you take an interest, in genuine interest in somebody else, it's interesting to see kind of where that stuff goes to.
Absolutely. You know, people really try to sell their business or their product, and you go somewhere and, oh, this is what I do, and you can't be like that. That's my advice. Don't be like that. Just be genuine, be yourself. Take a step back, see what it is, see what the conversation is, see where it takes you. Sometimes you don't need to say anything about it. You know, you don't always need to sell it. If they ask you, then you kind of tell them, but don't push it. I have friends that are realtors, and they're friends, and I've never said, hey, do you want to get a basket? I've never told them that, because they know what I do.
Right.
And if they want to, when they'll reach out, I don't need to sell anything. It sells itself.
Wow. There's just so many golden nuggets that you've laid down here today. I want to say thank you so much for the service that you're bringing to Las Vegas, and eventually is going to be worldwide. So I can't wait to kind of look back at this episode and be like, you remember when we sat down, you know what I mean? And we talked about this kind of stuff. There's been a question that is burning in my mind ever since we left drinking coffee together the first time. You showed me a picture of you and Barack Obama.
Correct.
How did you meet Barack? And what was that like?
Barack is a very cool guy.
Yeah.
Very genuine person. Honestly, he's one of the coolest people I've met. You know, I met him because I was a lead butler at Aria, and he had business here at that time. And I believe Harry Reid had passed away not too long ago, so I believe he came to speak at his ceremony or his service. And that's when I met Obama, you know, and that was my second time with Obama.
Really?
Yeah. What got me in tears, that was when he came back. he saw me, and he said, "Dennis," So yeah, I was like, "What the president?"
He remembered you.
Yes.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah. He looked at me. He's like, "Dennis," and he shook my hand, and then I was like, "No way." Yeah, that was pretty cool. But he was a genuine person, man. Honestly, a very, very cool guy. I'm glad that I was able to meet with him.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's naturally kind of easy for me to make the assumption of course, Barack Obama liked you because like you're one of the most personable people that I've come across here in Las Vegas in a long time, to be very transparent with you. And it's so
Thank you.
easy to kind of talk to you about anything. Me and you sat down for like, what was like almost an hour and a half, 2 hours the first time we met. Didn't feel like it at all. We talked about so much stuff, life, mental health in general, and all the challenges that we've gone through, Wow, man. You are just like on a rocket ship, but it's not because you've developed a new app, right? Or you've created a new way to create an agency or something or you're drop shipping or doing stuff with technology. Like you're genuinely delivering a valuable service to the people who you interact with on a daily basis. And that's why your business naturally grows and compounds. And I just want to say, thank you so much for coming on the show because I cannot wait to see where this thing takes off for you.
Oh, man, I can't wait. Let's see. Let's do this podcast again in a couple of years, and let's see where we're at.
I'm down with that. Well, I just want to say, guys, I hope you guys have learned so much from Dennis. A couple things that have been super important to me today are when you focus on the customer first, you deliver value that is above and beyond everybody else in the marketplace. Edible arrangements, I'm talking to you guys. You guys will naturally find yourself in a position to be able to win. So, Dennis, why don't you tell everybody kind of how they can get in contact with you, how they can learn more about your business as well? Why don't you kind of take a couple seconds to point a little bit of shine on, your direction in your business?
So Gift-Lux, we're a high-end gift basket delivery company. Everything is delivered in a suit and white gloves. They're always with me as a standard. You can reach us at the Gift-Lux Company, or the giftlux.net for our website, Gift-Lux Company on Instagram and TikTok. So,
well, I thank you, man. I'm super excited to kind of see where the future goes, and thanks for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
You.
Guys, it's been another episode of the Hart Hustle Podcast. Thanks once again for Dennis for tuning in with us. And more importantly, keep on heart and keep on hustling. All right, see you guys.